Assisting to me today is my wonderful mother, Suzy. She is helping out today. Some of you may know her as the Suzy of Suzy's Cream Cheesecakes. Yes, that's her.
No way!
That is the Suzy behind Suzy's Cream Cheesecakes. Give her a round of applause. You all enjoy her work so much. And growing up with such a famous, successful mom, I always thought the point of my life is going to be to outfame my mom, which is, she set the bar really high for me. And for the staff, I'm just waiting on an extension cord and some water, and as soon as I get that, we can start. So I'm actually going to start before we have that, okay? Hopefully it'll show up as soon as I need it. I'm going to start off today. Who here, by round of applause, knows what seitan is? Not Satan, not the dark prince of the underworld, but seitan is a meat. Yes, I did say meat. It is a vegan meat made out of wheat gluten. Gluten is the protein found in wheat. I'm so glad we cleared that up. My name, as I said before, is Honey LaBronx. I am known as... Thank you, yes. Thank you. How many of you want to hear me do a number today? Well, then you should have been here last night. Anyway. If anyone sees a Post-it note go flying off, please help a drag queen out and catch it and bring it back to me. So, why seitan? Because... raise your hand here if you have, and you close your eyes so no one has to see, if you have high cholesterol. Raise your hand if you take something to lower your cholesterol. Crestor, Lipitor. Raise your hand if heart disease runs in your family, or if anyone in your family has cholesterol or heart problems. Okay, I lost a grandfather to a heart attack. I lost another grandfather to complications from a stroke, and heart disease also runs in my family. When I was 6 years old, if you asked me how I was going to die, I would say, I'm probably going to die of a heart attack when I'm around 40. I just accepted this. We're told this is genetic, it runs in families. Can I swear here? Okay, bullshit. It is not genetic. Genetics only account for 2%. Thank you, I love you. It's a round of applause. Genetics only accounts for 2% of heart disease cases, like the rare, like I was born with my heart on the outside. So if you really think genetics is that big a factor, if your heart is still in your chest, it's probably not. Diet, it's all about diet. Why am I vegan? Because I don't feel that just because I'm a human, I have the right to decide how an animal lives and dies, right? We all say that we love animals. Why do we pet and love a dog and a cat? But there's other cats, other animals that are just as intelligent, just as loving, just as loyal, just as intelligent with just as much of an emotional capacity, and we eat them. So I feel that that's wrong for me. Well, I also feel it's wrong for you too. But also, cholesterol is completely voluntary in your diet. Cholesterol only comes from animal ingredients. If you want to lower your cholesterol, switch to a plant-based diet. My cholesterol is 80. And I'm what I consider a junk food vegan. I eat potato chips, I stopped drinking soda, I eat fries, I eat what I want. I don't feel like I diet, I don't eat very healthy, but my cholesterol plummeted, my triglycerides plummeted. My doctor once told me I was entering a condition known as pre-diabetes, that if I kept eating the way I was eating, I would have diabetes. That is gone. I still pig out, I still eat what I want, I just eat a plant-based diet. Thank you so much for that water. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make some seitan. Seitan is a delicious meat. You can prepare it, use it however you would have any other kind of meat. Seitan has as much protein as steak. It has no cholesterol, very little fat, and all the flavor and chewiness and deliciousness of any kind of meat you want. So, we are starting off with 3.5 cups of gluten. If you don't have pure gluten, now you can't see what I'm doing in the bowl here, but if you want to see what I'm doing, go to vegandragqueen.com, where I have an online cooking show, and you can see that. Thank you, Mom. We are going to add to that 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast kind of looks like goldfish food. It kind of looks like flaky. It's also very similar to brewer's yeast. If you don't have nutritional yeast, thank you, you can just use brewer's yeast. It kind of looks like that. Golden little flakes, delicious, kind of a cheesy flavor. We're gonna add that. Next, we are going to add 3 tablespoons of spices. You can use whatever kind of spices you want. I'm going for more of a Mexican flavor. So this is 3 tablespoons of, yeah, let's hear it from Mexico. Whoa. I thank you so much. If someone could get that plugged in and the female end run up to my stage, that'd be great. Mom, thank you. So this is 3 tablespoons of dried cilantro, garlic powder, chili powder, and cumin. We're just going to drop that right in. And yes, Mom, if you would go ahead and stir that up for me. While she's stirring that up, I'm going to go ahead and prepare some wet ingredients. Now, if you don't want that flavor combination, if you don't want to make this for Mexican style food, or if you don't want it to have a beefy flavor, if you want to make this for Asian cooking, you could use onion powder, garlic powder, and ginger powder for an Asian feel. Or if you wanted more Italian, you could go with 3 tablespoons of basil, oregano, sage, and rosemary. Thank you so much. So that said, the next thing we're going to do is prepare some wet ingredients. So what we are going to do is in a separate pot, in a stock pot here, we are going to add a ½ cup of soy sauce. This is exactly a ½ cup measured out. So 1/2 cup soy sauce.
Low sodium?
This is low sodium. It's in a regular bottle. I do not recommend using low sodium just because this is not the kind of dish where you need to be worried about sodium intake. You are avoiding cholesterol. You are avoiding fat. It's so low in calories. It's so healthy for you and full of protein. It's not the kind of dish where you need to worry about cutting out the sodium. So I actually meant to add that to here instead, but I'll do that in a second. And I'm also going to add to that 2½ cups of water. Got some water here, so let me just think off the top of my head. 2½ cups. 2 cups is 16 ounces, and then a half is about 1/4 of this. So I'm going to add that right there is 2 cups of water. Catch some garbage and bring it away for me. And about 1/4 of this bottle is a ½ cup. There we go. Could you pick that? So we've now got our wet ingredients, which is just a watered down soy sauce, and we're going to add that to our dry ingredients. I'm going to pour this in as my mom stirs this up for me. Now, while she's stirring that, I'm going to prepare, actually, I wish you could see this from where you are, but this is going to become very difficult to stir. When you're cooking with regular flour, it sort of has the consistency of like dough. It's real stretchy and easy to pull apart. When you're cooking with gluten, see, first off, my mom has a personal trainer at age 64, and she's got some biceps on her. Even for her, she's a triathlete, by the way, and a pillar of the community. But this is getting really hard to stir because gluten, think about it, it's just like meat. This is not like kneading dough. This is like kneading chicken breast. Or like kneading my breasts. And I do need my breasts to perform for you today. So at this point, once it's difficult to stir, we're going to take it out of the bowl. Here's what we got at this point. Kind of looks like calf's brains, right? Which you're going, yes, I did wash my hands before I do this. What I'm going to do at this point, you're just going to knead this, knead this, knead this, knead this, like your life depended on it. 'Cause it does. Okay? So I'm going to have my mom continue to knead this. And the thing about kneading this is, if you knead this for about 5 or 10 minutes, the consistency will really change. Right now it's kind of soft and doughy. If you see how hard that is to pull apart, it's so much tougher than regular flour. This is a ball of pure protein, okay? So I'm going to give this to my mom to continue kneading. And so, while she is kneading that, I'm going to prepare my liquids that we're going to boil this in. Now, I'm not really going to boil it today. I have one set aside, like on a fancy cooking show, where like, and here's what it looks like after. I've always wanted to do that. So, for our liquid ingredients, we are going to take 12 cups of veggie broth. If you go to, Outpost or any, grocery store, they have a lot of vegan, non-animal based broths. This one is actually called not beef broth. It tastes just like a murdered cow. And I know how much you guys like that, so I thought of you when picking this out. So we're gonna go ahead and pour into our pot 12 cups of veggie broth. Careful not to splash that on my iPhone. I already cracked my MacBook Pro screen last night. For Jesus. Did it for Jesus. Clap if you love Jesus. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we're going to add 12 cups of vegetable broth. Now, by the way, no need to write any of this down. This recipe I'm making for you today is available at vegandryqueen.com. It's episode 1 on my cooking show. You can also see it on Perez Hilton's website, Fit Perez. He's a fan. So, yes, indeed. So now I'm going to add to this 1.5 cups of soy sauce. So I'm just adding 1.5 cups of soy sauce. So that is now veggie broth and soy sauce. And I'm going to add to this 9 tablespoons of the same spices I used in here. So I'm now going to add 9 tablespoons of spices to this. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a stir. And now you're going to put this on the stove on a high heat and let this come to a boil. While this is coming to a boil, you are going to take your seitan and a pair of skizzers, or in Espanol, tijeras lesbianas. You guys, stop it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do at this point. Now that we've got this on an imaginary high heat, Suzy here, I can call you Suzy, not Mom, right? Is going to take the seitan, yep, keep doing what you're doing, and she's just going to snip off little bits of this. Keep in mind, this pot is on a high heat over the stove. I love seeing couples holding hands. I love that they're arguing over like which one of you is cooking it tonight. I'm not cooking it. I'll do the dishes, but you're cooking it. How many of you are looking forward to tasting this? I actually have everyone here is going to taste some of this tonight. You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. Everybody here gets a car. All right. So while she's doing that, she's going to start adding that to the stock pot. And what's next? I covered my instructions. So we're going to cover this, once this is all on the stove, every single bit of this is snipped up and put on the stove, you're going to bring it to a boil, and once all of this is in here and the pot is boiling, you're going to cover that pot, and then you're going to reduce the heat. This is how you reduce it, to, unless you're fancy, and then you just do that. Okay, I shouldn't do that, PrideFest. There's lesbians in the audience. And then you're gonna cover that, bring it to a low heat, like a 3 out of 10, and just leave it simmering for 45 minutes to an hour. Now, as small as these little pieces look, these will actually plump up to about 2 or 3 times their size. So these are teeny little bits of dough. They're going to plump up like your lips do if you put cayenne pepper or castor oil on them. Try that. So we're gonna leave that, and then after 45 minutes, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take it out and strain it. In the meantime, while she's doing that, I actually have, would someone like to pass out a sample for me? I have a sample of seitan for all of you here. Come on up, because you're nice and close. What's your name, hun? Billy? Like Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who thinks that I'm one. Come on up here, Billy. Everyone have a hand for Billy, please. And here is what the seitan looks like afterwards. So, I can't believe it was not murdered while screaming for its life. Tastes like it was. So juicy and delicious, and very high in protein. So Billy is going to come around the audience, and she's going to just, So, you guys like sports? All right, go around, and she's gonna have some toothpicks. Just take a toothpick, take a piece. There should be enough for everyone here. So, just about everyone, I hope. I don't want to start a mob. Those LA riots were a really brilliant way to express yourselves, but I don't want to start one here. So, while that's going around, Suzy's going to keep cutting this and snipping this into the bowl, and you're going to see what the end result tastes like. In the meantime, I'm going to show you another recipe. Who here loves milk? Okay, I'm going to show you how to make almond milk. It is every bit as delicious as milk, with none of the cholesterol, with none of the pus, with none of the antibiotics, with none of the steroids or hormones or chemicals or pesticides that are in your dairy-based milk. Now, you may not know this, but people always say, oh, why don't you drink milk? Because the animals don't get killed for milk. The short answer is they do. They do. People always think, oh, but the cows have to be milked, otherwise they're in pain, right? Cows are mammals. Raise your hand here if you are a female mammal. Keep your hand up in the air if you are not pregnant or nursing and you are a female and a mammal. Okay. Are you lactating right now? I didn't tell you I was going to get personal up in here. Of course you're not lactating because you're not pregnant or nursing. Cows are also mammals. They only make milk when pregnant or nursing. So in order to take this milk from cows, we have to first forcibly impregnate them. That's a fancy word for rape. So cows have to get raped. This isn't just a cooking demonstration, this is a little bit of animal rights activism, but cows do get manually raped, and once they become pregnant, they are allowed to be with their calf for about 2 days so the calf gets its colostrum, and then it's taken away. We don't see this, so we don't think about the cost of the suffering when we go to the store and buy the milk. It comes in a cute little white carton. But the truth is, in order to take that milk, you are separating a mother from its calf. They don't allow the calf to stick around, because then it would take the milk that we want to sell at market. What happens if it's a boy? Raise your hand here if you do not eat veal because you are ethically opposed to the way veal calves are treated. So you guys would never eat veal because of the way it's treated, because it's cruel to the animals. Veal is a byproduct of the dairy industry. The only reason we have a veal industry is because every time we impregnate a cow, she's going to give birth. It's either going to be male or female. If it's female, we can take its milk. If it's male, it is useless to the dairy industry. So it is sent to the veal industry and confined in a box for like 4 months, and then it's slaughtered. So if you are drinking milk or cheese or dairy, you are supporting the veal industry and keeping them alive. It's sad but true, but we don't know this unless someone tells us. I'm not a litter bug. Mother Nature's a litter bug. So I'm going to show you how you can make a delicious milk. Here's the thing. If I'm at the store, if I'm at home and I'm cooking and I run out of milk, I can't just make more. I can't, unless someone's pregnant or nursing. But with almond milk, I can make milk at home. Here's what I do. I take 1 part of almonds, generally 1 cup of almonds, and I soak them overnight in 1 cup of water. I leave that overnight or for at least 4 hours. And I add to that 2 pitted dates. I can reach my hands in because I washed them. A date looks like this. It looks like a big old, like a cylindrical plum, basically. Take out the pit first. They got a big gnarly pit inside. You want to take that out. Why am I adding dates to almond milk? It has a natural sugar. It gives it a natural sweetness. So this is 1 cup of almonds soaked overnight with 2 pitted dates. Now I'm going to drain this water. The reason I'm draining this water and I don't want to use this water is because when you soak or rinse your nuts, you actually remove toxic enzyme inhibitors. So right now this water is full of toxic enzyme inhibitors which prevent your body from absorbing vitamins, and they're also toxic to the body. So we are going to, if I may, just backstage, I'm just going to dump this out, strain it by hand. Here we go. Give me a drum roll while I do this, just to keep the momentum going.
It's like equivalent tofu, but it's not made with soybeans.
Honey, I was in service for many years. And I didn't know.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you. I'm going to make sure that my blender's on here. Oh, she's on. She's angry. So, I'm going to take 1 part of almonds, drained, and my 2 dates are in there as well. And my other date is in the back. And now to that 2 parts, that is 1 part of almonds, I'm going to add to that 4 parts of water. So I'm basically going to add 4 cups of water. Each of these is about 2 cups. So I'm going to add 1. And a little less than 1 more.
Why don't you keep the overnight water?
Why don't you get the overnight? I didn't hear what you said.
Why don't you keep the overnight water?
The overnight water? Who wants to tell them why we don't keep the overnight water that they were soaked in? because it contains toxic enzyme inhibitors. Certain people have nut allergies and they can't eat nuts or beans. Most of us can't eat nuts or beans because of the toxic enzyme inhibitors in them, but people don't know that if you soak them and drain them and rinse them, you will not have an allergic reaction. I'm not a doctor giving medical advice, but for some people, that relieves their allergy. So, we've now got the blender. You don't want to fill it too much because this is going to rise quite a bit. But now that I've got all of that in the blender, that's almonds, water, dates, I'm just going to add 2 little pinches of regular old sea salt. Now we're going to blend. Could you get that ready for me? Here we go. Now, very important thing that you do not forget. No matter what you do, so if nothing else, just don't forget what I just said. Very important, you could die. So now that it looks like a creamy white milkshake, what we're gonna do is take something called a nut milk bag. Don't laugh. A nut milk bag. And we're gonna milk this. Here we go. So, a nut milk bag, I don't know where to tell you to find one of these, but you could, what's that? All right, well, if you can't find one of these at your local store, just go to eBay. That's where I got mine. I got 5 of these for like $5. And the beautiful thing about a nut milk bag, this is kind of like a synthetic cheesecloth. Cheesecloth would not be better in this case. I know it sounds like organic's better than synthetic, right? Cheesecloth, because it's an organic made material, it will rot when it comes into contact with any kind of bacteria or any kind of organic material. So this is synthetic, so it does not rot, it does not age, and it also comes with a little elastic band around the top. Now, I am a little compulsive about this, so I actually triple up my nut milk bag because I like pulp in my orange juice. I don't like pulp in my milk. So we're gonna strain all the pulp out. Just put that right over the blender. And you're gonna pour this right out into the bowl. And there we go. And you're gonna gently squeeze your nut milk bag. You like that? There you go. And you see all this delicious, beautiful, creamy white milk coming out. Now, what you will have left behind is everyone who is dear to you. I'm kidding. What you will have left over after this is basically a sweet almond flour. So you don't have to throw this away, what's left in here. Mom, could you get the garbage bag for me? But I am going to throw it away, because screw it. Yeah, no, the garbage bag. All right, and I'm just going to rinse out my bag here.
Oh, you're supporting me, right?
And you don't have to do this, but I always like to strain it one more time just to make sure I got everything out of there. So, actually, I'm going to rinse out the blender first. Thank you, dear. Now, most likely, when it's time for you to make your almond milk, you won't be doing it on the festival grounds in front of an audience. You might actually have a sink in your kitchen, which makes it a lot easier to rinse out your nut milk bag and a lot easier to rinse out your blender. So, I'm going to strain this one more time. I'm just going to put the bag right in my blender this time and pour this back in. There we go. I'm not going to give it too much of a squeeze this time because there's really not much left to squeeze. Some guys are like that. Allegedly, I don't know. So, here we go. We just made milk. We just made milk out of almonds. Now who wants a taste? Actually, my mom is going to go through the audience. She doesn't know that she's going to, but I'm volunteering her to. She's going to go around the audience and give everyone just a little taste of this. I'm going to taste it first for you. Just fill it up a tiny bit. Not bad. So she's going to go through the audience and give everyone a little taste of this. And while we're doing that, I'm going to finish up the Seitan demonstration. By the way, did you all get a chance to try the Seitan? How was it? Is that stuff delicious or what? Okay, and did you see how easy that was to make? 1 pound of gluten, you can get it at Outpost in the bulk section for $2.99 a pound. This stuff is made for pennies on the dollar. I can make a huge batch of this. Usually when I cook this, I double or triple the recipe. Here's the thing. It freezes beautifully. I'll grab a handful of Seitan, put it in a small sandwich bag, roll it up, another one, put that inside a big Ziploc freezer bag, and I keep it in my freezer. And then when I get home, I can just grab this and make this. If this seems difficult to make, well then you're an idiot, because it's so easy to make. But it is a little time consuming. If you don't have an hour to make this, make it once every month or two, and you will have a fridge stocked up with so much meat, people will think you are a hunter, but you'll say, no, I'm compassionate. So here we go. Now that we've got our Seitan, we're going to pretend that this has been simmering for 45 minutes to an hour. So what we're going to do at this point, it actually won't look the same as it's supposed to when it comes out. I didn't save any like mid-ray demo of it. But what we're going to do is you're going to reach into the pot, you're going to take out your pieces of Seitan once they're finished, and just put them out of a little strainer like this over a pot, and you will press out the excess liquid. If you don't do that, it's okay, but it's going to have less firm of a texture. It's going to be juicier and a little, I don't know how to say it, juicier and it's a little looser. I like mine to be really firm and almost even a little dry. Here's the beautiful thing. Animal-based meats, as you may know, you can't, how is the almond milk, by the way? It tastes different. It tastes like almonds, okay? But there is nothing in that other than almonds and water and natural sugar from dates and a little bit of salt. Every glass of milk that you drink, there is a legal limit of pus. How much pus, white blood cells, the government allows to go in. I know it's not pleasant to hear, but every glass of milk has pus, white blood cells, the stuff that comes out of a zit when you pop it. That is in your milk. You can't see it because it's white and it's opaque. There is also about 400 or 500 different chemicals, pesticides, hormones, antibiotics, and steroids. If you don't know which chemicals and steroids and antibiotics those 400 are, why would you be putting them into your body? They do not pass through the animal's body unknowingly. They come out in the same compound and they affect your body the same way. Also, what is the #1 health reason why you would think you want to drink cow's milk? So you can get your calcium. There is no calcium in cow's milk. There is no calcium in cow's milk. Calcium is a mineral. Minerals come from where? The ground. Cows in nature get their calcium from eating grass. Cows in dairy farms are not allowed to eat grass. They are fed corn. They are fed a certain kind of animal feed, corn-based. Cows do not have a stomach to digest corn. It makes them sick. This is why they are given so many antibiotics, so they don't become sick. 80% of all the antibiotics made and manufactured in this world are consumed by the animals that we eat. So, how do they get calcium in milk? They supplement it. They supplement it. The same way you could go to the Walgreens and get a bottle of calcium and have it yourself. If it is dark, leafy, and green, it is a rich natural source of calcium. Cut out the middleman, get your calcium from the animals do. Also, and I forget this, I apologize, but there is something that is so prevalent in cow's milk. I don't know if it's a certain type of iron. Watch the film Forks Over Knives. You can see it on Netflix. Thank you. It will tell you what this thing is. I'm sorry, I should have done my research, but there's something in cow's milk that is so acidic to the body. Therefore, it's a fat that is too acidic, thank you, that is too acidic to the body. Therefore, in order for your body to process cow's milk, your body needs to buffer all that acid. When you have too much acid, what do you take to buffer that? Tums. What is Tums? Tum is calcium. So you put cow's milk in your body, it's too acid forming, your body needs to buffer that. So your body buffers it with calcium. Where does your body take the calcium from? Your bones. We are told that we have a high rate of osteoporosis in North America, and therefore we need to drink our milk so we get our calcium. The truth is, the highest rates of osteoporosis in the world are in the countries with the highest rate of dairy consumption. I know this is sacrilege. I am here in Wisconsin, my home state, with my mother, you know, Suzy of Suzy's Cream Cheesecakes. But the truth is, dairy robs your bones of calcium and is a leading cause of osteoporosis. I know we've all been had, but now we know better, we can do better. So we're going to continue taking out our seitan until all of it is out, and you're just going to press out all the liquids, and once that's done, you're ready to eat it. You're ready to freeze it, you're ready to serve it. So that's pretty much it today. I do have a lot more almond milk if someone would like some. We have about 10 minutes for questions if anyone has any questions. Yes, sir.
Can you fry that seitan?
How do you fry the seitan? Absolutely. You can prepare seitan any way you prepare any kind of meat. You can fry it, grill it, steam it. You can just eat it right out of the thing after it's done.
What do you get fried? Like a tortilla chip? What kind of...
It's a little hard to hear, so if you could just speak up a bit.
What's it like, a tortilla chip or something? If you flatten it out and fry it, what do you get?
I've never done that before, but if you want to try that and then just get back to me on my cooking show, post it in the comments on episode 1 of vegandryqueen.com. But anything you can do to animal flesh, you can do to seitan.
It doesn't flatten. You have to.
Any other questions?
You have to cut it thin with a knife.
Yeah, it doesn't quite flatten like you'd pound out a chicken cutlet or something.
I love you, Peggy Bundy.
Why, thank you. She is my drag inspiration. This wig is actually called the Peggy Bundy. It's actually 2 wigs put together. But so, we all love Peggy Bundy. We can all agree. Did you know Katie Seagal, the actress who plays Peggy Bundy, is also a singer? She's a singer. She sings real good. Go on iTunes and she's got some great songs. Any other questions? We have plenty of time, so I'd love to hear it. Also, if you didn't get any almond milk, please feel free to make your way up to the stage at this point and grab some, or Suzy will come out through the audience and hand you some more. Does anyone else have any questions for me?
Can you take a picture with me?
Absolutely, just as soon as I'm done and off stage, I'd love to. Well, okay. Well, there don't seem to be a lot of questions. We do have some more almond milk going around. And again, you can see all of these recipes at vegandryqueen.com. I do see we have one more question.
The pulp that is left over when you're straining the almond milk, if you have a gluten sensitivity, is that a good replacement for wheat flour?
I do not have a gluten. Oh, the question that was asked is the pulp that we strain out after we make the almond milk, is that flour that's left over, the almond flour, is that a good replacement for flour if you have a gluten allergy? Now, I don't have a gluten allergy, so I can't really answer that to be sure because I don't know from my own experience. I do know that when you're using gluten-free flours, it really depends on what you're making, if it's baked goods or pastries or pizza crust or dough or bread. So the truth is, I would just kind of Google it and see what the best thing is. The way I made this, I would not use that like I would use regular flour, and here's why. I'm using just a plain old regular old household blender. If you really want the best blender money can buy, you want to get something called a Vitamix. It has like 1,000,000 horsepower. It's so powerful, sparks shoot out the bottom if you put it on its highest setting, and it will literally like pulverize into powder anything that goes inside of it. So if you were going to make a flour, you would want a Vitamix blender to do that. I wouldn't recommend you making almond flour from, at this point I don't need them, they're yours, I'll sign them after the show, feel free to keep it. A Vitamix blender, you put in dry ingredients like you put in rice or you put in almonds and you blend and it turns into flour. It pulverizes it so thoroughly. What I would recommend using the leftover almond pulp for is once you let it dry, I just kind of put it in the freezer and keep a little tub of it. Every time I make almond milk, I add more to my little almond pulp batch in the freezer, but I make cookies out of it. I have a delicious recipe on my website for almond cookies. They're really delicious, completely vegan, completely cholesterol free, and I believe that they're gluten free as well. So there are a lot of things you can use the almond pulp for, because it is of course gluten free. There's got to be a couple other questions. I just know it. What do I use my seitan? What do I use my seitan for? I like to worship it just so I can say I worship Seitan. I worship Seitan, not Satan. Don't be ridiculous. But what do I use my Seitan for? Here's the thing I love doing with my Seitan, because it freaks people out when you serve it to them, when you serve it to meat eaters, and they're like, oh my god, this isn't meat, you're kidding. I take my Seitan, I let it thaw out because I store mine in the freezer, and I'll put it in like a little food processor. I'll kind of chop it up first a little bit by hand. I'll put it in a food processor with like half of an onion, and whatever you have around for spices. I'll throw in some fresh wet oregano, I'll throw in some cumin, some garlic powder, some chili powder, I'll throw in like a dash of liquid hickory smoke, maybe just a tablespoon or two of barbecue sauce, and I will pulse that until it turns into vegan ground beef. I have veganized and recreated the cheesy gordita crunch from Taco Bell using seitan ground up like ground beef. I have made, oh please, we got some more almond milk for you guys. If you want some more almond milk, just raise your hand and she'll come get to you. And I have also made like vegan ground beef tostadas with it. I just take a little like 6-inch flour tortilla, put it in the oven for a couple of minutes, take it out, I'll put some homemade guacamole on that, a big steaming hot microwaved pile, like an ice cream scoop of the seitan. I like to use diced red bell peppers instead of tomatoes, because they're not slimy, they got a nice sweetness and a crunch. I feel like a diced red bell pepper is everything that a tomato is trying to be when used in Taco Bell type cooking. And then like a little bit of vegan tofutti sour cream on top. They're absolutely delicious, so much so that when my friends eat them, they laugh while they're eating them. They're like, oh my god, this is so good. Oh my god. The first time I made it, I thought like Janet Reno was gonna come over and send us back to Cuba because we were doing something illegal. It felt so naughty. So, yes.
Do you think that the seitan would hold up if you're going through a pasta diet to make pasta out of it?
Do I think the seitan would hold up in a pasta?
To make pasta with it, like to put it through so like to get macaroni or something, would it turn into macaroni?
No, you're not talking using the seitan as a replacement for the pasta, but putting, I wouldn't do that. It's very meaty. It's not gonna be, although it's made from wheat, it's not going to be like a pasta kind of wheat. This is like meat. It's really meaty. However, gluten, the same stuff that we use, you can add it to almost anything where you would make wheat. You could definitely add gluten to your homemade pasta if you're making homemade pasta. It would give it a real nice firm kind of denseness. It also adds a lot of protein. In baked goods and pastries, gluten actually helps give more of a rise to your cupcakes, baked goods. If you watch episode 4 of my cooking show, I make chocolate chip pumpkin cupcakes, and I use half gluten and half cake flour. And the gluten gives them this yummy, delicious kind of chewiness to them. It adds protein and it gives them a really nice robust shape. So you can add gluten to just about anything where you're using wheat or other flours. Yes?
What do you do for cheese alternatives? Like what's your favorite? How do you make it?
I actually wanted to make this particular cheese alternative for you today. While we're talking about pasta, what's the first cheese that you're going to think that comes to mind that you want to put on your pasta or maybe on your pizza? Parmesan, exactly. Did I hear coconut? Anyway, Parmesan. Here's how I make Parmesan. Write this down, kids. Now, I forget the exact ratio. It's either 1 part to 2 parts or 2 part to 1 part. But I basically take 1 part, I think it's 1 part, of pine nuts, pignoli nuts. They're usually pretty expensive, but if you buy them in bulk, you get them a lot cheaper. So take 1 part of pine nuts, and 2 parts of nutritional yeast, the same flaky stuff that we used in the seitan. When you mix up those pine nuts, when you crush them up with like a mortar and pestle, it's going to look almost like mashed potatoes. It's going to get really wet and mushy. Then when you add in 2 parts of the nutritional yeast is very dry and flaky. So the dry flaky plus the wet mushy is going to mix together, and it becomes this crumbly little, moist little substance, exactly like Parmesan cheese. And then you just add a little bit of salt to taste to give it a nice salty taste. Nutritional yeast has a very cheesy flavor to it. Also, it's called nutritional yeast. It's very good for you. It's full of vitamin B12, lots of other vitamins in it. So also, there's no cholesterol in that. You feel a little guilty adding Parmesan cheese because you know you're adding a lot of saturated fat and a lot of cholesterol and a lot of fat and calories. Not the case when you make your own nutritional yeast-based Parmesan cheese. Some people think that's too much work for them and think that the pine nuts are too expensive, and they just use straight nutritional yeast. You can do that as a cheese replacement too. Also, if you just want to save yourself the trouble and you just want to get a vegan cheese on the market, go to Outpost, go to Whole Foods, and get yourself something called Daiya. It's D-A-I-Y-A. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, though as a boy my initials are BS, but a lot of the other vegan cheeses are just nasty, and a lot of the other cheeses that are marketed as dairy-free, non-dairy cheese, vegetarian-friendly cheese, they still have milk-derived ingredients like casein, like lactose, like whey. These things are just as dangerous as dairy. Not to scare anyone, but one of the leading causes, not the cause of cancer. I'm going to quickly talk in my remaining 90 seconds about cancer. Watch the film Forks Over Knives. It's based on a book called The China Study. Your doctors go to school for 10 years. In 10 years, how much time do you think they spend studying nutrition? Just shout out your guess. 3 months, 6 months, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 20 hours a year. 4 hours. Some doctors don't even get that much. In 10 years of learning how to keep us healthy, at most doctors, not nutritionists, but at most doctors spend 4 years studying nutrition. Okay? So they don't know a lot about how food keeps us healthy. What keeps a doctor in business? Surgeries and medicines. You go to a doctor, they're going to tell you, oh, you have osteoporosis. Drink some calcium, drink some milk, and take Boniva, because I'm a fan of Sally Field. The truth is, we don't need this kind of stuff. Also, more to the point, there are 3 stages of cancer. There is and I apologize, I'm no expert, I'm going to get them wrong, but there is basically like the initiation stage, which is kind of like a seed landing on the lawn. There is the promotion stage, which is like the seed spreading roots down into the ground. And then there is the progression, which is kind of like that crabgrass starting to sprout up in other spots of the sidewalk, and it's now spread to other organs. It's not about cancer initiation. At all times we are being exposed to cancerous toxins. At all times our body is receiving and processing and dealing with cancer in its own way. The promotion happens, kind of like if that seed lands on a lawn, it cannot promote, it cannot sprout roots unless it has sunlight, soil, water, and all the elements it needs. Cancer cannot grow unless it's fed. The thing that spreads cancer more than any other nutrient is casein. Casein is the protein found in dairy. So as animal foods, but most especially dairy, are the #1 thing that will cause cancer to spread. If you have cancer, if you're fighting it, a plant-based diet, again, I'm not a doctor giving you medical advice, but people have turned around cancer even in its latest stages. People who thought they were going to die, who told they were going to die, have reversed their cancer by adopting a plant-based diet. And as you've all seen today, you're not missing anything out on taste, you're not missing anything out on familiarity. We all had our meat today, we all had our milk, and we all learned where to go and get our cheese. So if you want some delicious cheeses, go to Whole Foods or Outpost and get Daiya cheese. It's available in shreds and wedges. They have 5 different flavors of the stuff. You can get very creative. That's all the time that we have today. Don't forget to go to vegandragqueen.com and check out my cooking show. And thank you guys all so much. You've been a terrific audience. Thank you. Oh, apparently one of you is a winner. I didn't know this. Let me pick a winner. So the winner for a $100 Pick and Save gift card, redeemable only for plant-based foods. Here's the thing, whoever wins this, I want you to promise me that you will not use this to buy animal ingredients. That would be like me going into the hood and giving a $50 bill to some kid I know is sitting outside of a crack house. So I don't want to do that today, okay? I'm not knocking crack. If that's what you're into. I don't condone it. I just remember it. I don't want that one. I want this one. Hang on a second.
Hey!
And the winner is delicious. The winner is the ticket's red. You're all still in the running so far. Good. 7, 7, 8. Thank you all. Good night. 7, 7, 8. I'm sure we're all still in the running so far. 3, 9. Raise your hand if you're still in the running. Raise your hand if you're still in the running. 7, 7, 7, 8, 3, 9, 7. Do we have a wiener? Going once, going twice.
They left.
All right. The next winner is 7, 7, 8, 3, 9, 3. Do we have a winner? Going once, going twice. 7, 7, 8, 3, 9, 3. Going 3 times. Gone. Probably a meat eater anyway. Oh, by the way, if you love and adore me and want to take me home with you, iTunes, I have a podcast now called Big Fat Vegan Radio. So please go to iTunes and download Big Fat Vegan Radio. You'll never forget that title. What is it? I love you guys so much. The next winner is 778419. Do we have a wiener? Yes, and you are not going to use this to buy animal foods, are you? No, sir. What's your name, sir?
Corey.
Corey. Everyone give it a hand for Corey, our winner. I think they've got your gift certificate for you right over here. Thank you again, you guys. You've been a lovely audience. I'll be sticking around for a hot minute after this, so feel free to come say hi after I've packed up.